A baby monitor is a promise. A promise that you're listening in on your child. But have you ever considered what else might be listening in with you?
There's a special kind of silence that only new parents know. It's a fragile, tense silence that hangs over the house in the dead of night. For Mark, the world had shrunk to the universe contained in his daughter Luna's room. A universe that smelled of powder and milk, where days and nights bled into a single, exhausting blur. And at the center of this universe, glowing like a solitary star, was the green power light of the baby monitor. It was his electronic umbilical cord, a promise that all was well. It was in the third week, at the peak of sleep deprivation, that the promise was broken. Beneath the familiar hiss, that waterfall of white noise meant to soothe, he heard it. A crawling sound, hiding in the frequency. A rhythmic whisper, like a dry leaf scratching on concrete. Mark blinked, his mind thick with fatigue. The neighbor's cab radio, a fragment of a dream leaking into reality. He reset the device. The sound vanished. It was interference. It had to be. But the interference returned. Night after night, punctually at 3 a.m., like some macabre clockwork, the whisper gained body, clarity. One night, he shook Anna awake. "Listen! Do you hear that?" she mumbled, lifted her head from the pillow and listened for a moment. "It's just static, honey," she said, her voice full of a sleep that was a distant memory for him. "You need to sleep." The concern in her voice isolated him further. It wasn't an accusation, but it felt like one. He was the only one who could hear it. Was he going crazy? The baby monitor, once a totem of security, became an object of dread. An oracle. He found himself spending hours on watch, headphones on, drowning in that ocean of static, hunting for the voice. It was a voice that didn't speak, but scraped. It was genderless, ageless. It felt cold and hungry. In his 4 a.m. doom scrolling, he devoured forums for sleepless parents and articles on electronic voice phenomena, searching for a rational explanation that never came. The shadows on the night vision camera, once just dust, now had intent. They seemed to bend over Luna's crib. The paranoia was a slow-acting poison dripped into his ear each night. He began to mistrust the silence. What was the voice saying when he wasn't listening? Was it speaking directly to his daughter? Then came the night the whisper no longer hid. It came out of the small speaker, crystal clear, cutting through the static. "Open!" The word meant nothing and everything, and it felt like an ancient spell, a key. The sound hung in the air for a second, freezing the blood in his veins. And then, it was replaced by Luna's sharp cry. Mark ran to the nursery, his heart hammering against his ribs. He expected the worst. But he found his daughter fine. She wasn't crying from hunger, fear, or discomfort. Her tiny eyes, so new to the world, were locked on the camera lens on the wall. There was an absolute focus in her gaze, a depth, a cold and alien intelligence a weeks-old infant should not possess. A silent, terrible connection was being forged right in front of him. In an act of fury and terror, Mark ripped the device from the outlet, from the wall, and smashed it on the floor until it was just a pile of plastic and circuits. The silence that followed was absolute, blessed. The weeks passed, peace returned. The memory of the voice became a fever dream, a scar of his exhaustion. He convinced himself it had all been a trick of his tired mind. Until this morning. Anna was holding Luna, laughing, bathed in the sunlight streaming through the window. "She's going to say Dada any day now," she said, beaming. Luna turned to Mark, an innocent, toothless smile on her face, and from her mouth came a sound. Not Dada, not Mama. It was a low, guttural coo, a perfect infantile imitation of the whisper that had haunted him in the dark. Anna laughed, amused by the strange sound. But Mark froze. Deep in his daughter's eyes, he saw an understanding she was not supposed to have. The lesson had been learned. The signal hadn't been cut. It had just changed its transmitter.